All right, y'all. We are back with another episode of the Black on Black Education Podcast, and this one is special. I cannot even lie. This one is real, real special, but we will start it the same way that we always do. Each of our beautiful guests are going to tell us who they are, what they do, and why they do it.
So I'll jump in first. My name is Claudine Miles. I am the CEO and co-founder of Restore More. I'm really honored to be here this evening. And we get to work with schools around the country on implementing restorative practices, social emotional learning, um, and anti-racism. And I do it because when I left my former job as a school leader, I thought about what were the things that I loved the most. And then I built a business around that. So I am incredibly humbled and grateful that I get to do those things every single day.
Hey, y'all. My name is Kimberly Milton. I am the co founder and COO of Restore More. And again, thank you so much for welcoming us in this space. Feels like I'm back home talking to you too. Um, but I do what I do for seventh grade Kim. She is who I try to ensure has a teacher, maybe a parent who can support them in their journey. So I think about that girl and it makes me want to continue to do the work that we do so that more children can be seen and be well.
And I'm Naraffy. I am the digital marketing strategist at Restore More, and I do what I do because I just love being a part of this wonderful team of amazing Black women, and being a part of this team really makes me happy. It really makes me smile.
We love work that brings y'all joy, and the smiles on your faces for those of you who are watching this on YouTube should be able to show it all. Claudine Miles, you were our first ever guest on the Black on Black Education Podcast. And so this is a special one because we have done so much work with Restore More since meeting in 2019. And I just want to know, like, from you directly, how does it feel to be back on the podcast? How does it feel to be coming back into community in this way after however many years it's been at this point?
Right. Amazing. I literally remember the first time you reached out. We had both went to Morgan DeBond's Summit 21, and we were trying to connect via her app. Didn't happen like in the physical space at that conference, but we connected later through email and just kept in touch with each other as like two Black women starting these education businesses. And it's wild. You were the first podcast I ever did. So I was really green, had no experience. So I was your first and you were mine. And now I look up, and just a few short years later, like, I'm so proud of all of your growth and what y'all have been able to build. And even just listening just now at my team introduce themselves, I'm like full circle, because it was lonely old me at that time. I was doing the work full time. Kim still worked part time at the charter network that we had left. So it just shows the growth in both orgs. I'm just proud of us.
Yeah, that is it's amazing. It has been a long time, and a lot has gone on in that time. So Kim, you weren't a part of that conversation. What is new and good with Restore More? Why did you join? And tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing.
Yo, wow. So, I joined as Claudine's first fan. That's like one of my favorite titles to be able to hold. Claudine, we talk, we're besties. I am the godmother of her little son Jojo. So we talk all the time. And she was like randomly like, I have this idea. I'm like, okay. Uh, and I was like, I'll help. I like to do operational things. I like to make things pretty. I like to, help people bring their ideas to life. So of course I'm gonna help you. And to be honest, and she knows this, like it was like, I don't know what we doing. I don't know if this is gonna be anything, but let's just try it. So she was really going hard in the paint, like pitching to rando people every day until we got the pitch right, signing us up for all the things. And then we got our first client. And it was like, oh my gosh, this stuff is real. And granted, I'm still working full time, like full time 9 to 5, but hours on the at night, and we would meet every Sunday at Starbucks for a couple of hours, and we would just plug away little by little on this dream. And when I look back on it now and I look on those early documents, I just laugh because I was like, oh my gosh, what? look at look at that. That was such a mess. But to look at where we've grown now, like we have like a new member. We actually have another team member who is not with us right now, and then we have like a bunch of facilitators who support us in our work as well. We hit the 6-figure mark from the last time we met with y'all from the first time in the podcast. And what I would say of where we're at right now, we have, really feel like found our sweet spot of what we want to bring into the space. And we gratefully, through word of mouth, have garnered like a community of schools and organizations that want to engage in that level of deep thinking when it comes to restorative practices, anti-racism, especially, and social emotional learning. Like it takes a certain mindset for an organization to say that they're ready for that. And we're finding more and more that there are so many who need it that, I mean, if I'm being honest, we're at a point now that we're booked and we don't have space to accept all, which is not a bad problem to have. But it also lets you know really the need that is out there. So it really validates that we are in the right space. But we're growing. We're trying to hit that $1 million mark, that international mark. That retreat life mark. We're trying to reach all the marks. Yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah. And it's been so beautiful to watch and to be a part of just the growth and expansion of the commitment that y'all have. Because I think that like all the work that you do comes from a very deep commitment to kids, a deep commitment to transformation, a deep commitment to like the alternative to the reality that we're currently facing. And so like that just comes so clearly from people who actually get to know and deeply love you. But I think it also comes clearly from the community of people who you have around you. And when you say that you booked and busy, I mean, that's just another validation mark that you can take. No, we know we ain't doing that. You about to accept the love. You about to accept the love, Claudine. Don't do that. Yeah, pull it in. So now we got a question to go right across the board with. Like, what is the greatest joy that y'all have found in growing Restore More? And what's been the greatest challenge that you're still kind of working through? So from each of you, kind of how do you view that?
Naraffy, you want to go first?
Let me see. The greatest joy with working in Restore More, I feel like how I was stating earlier, like I'm able to be a part of a team of just amazing Black women. So that's one. Also, like I was mentioning before, like when I first came on the team, I was just an intern, freshly graduated from college. My degree is in journalism, so I didn't really have a marketing background, but these two amazing women saw something in me and they took me along for the ride, and it's been a wonderful ride. I don't know where or what would be doing if it wasn't for Kim and Claudine and the opportunity that they've given me. I've gone through so many new opportunities. I've experienced so many new things. They've taken me places I've never experienced ever in my life. Um, so they are majority of the joy that my life has. So being a part of Restore More is really fulfilling, and just being a part of the team alone is what gives me the most joy.
And anybody who is watching this on YouTube versus listening to it, like you should go and watch it on YouTube and just like get to look at the faces and like it's this is virtual, but I see like energy just jumping back and forth between these like right. I see Claudine, she's trying not to cry because she still got her makeup on and stuff, but I see it. Go ahead, Kim.
Unmute. Here we go. So I know, Naraffy, love you so much. No, one of the best decisions that we've ever made. Honestly, I would say like some of the best parts of where we're at now is that we're this year we are at where myself and Claudine were professionally, financially speaking, that we were at our highest point in the profession that we left, that we are able to sustain ourselves, our work, our livelihood, and we can breathe just a little bit, just a little bit. So that part is super awesome. I would say like the challenge is like how to keep that going. It's like now what? How to continue to level up, and as those opportunities come, like do we just tell people no? Like how do we navigate? Like if we're booked and busy, does that mean we need to bring in more people? Does that mean we're doing the right thing as me and you? Like what does that mean to grow? And sometimes just finding the space when you're booking busy to have that space to think can be a challenge. So I would say that that's something that, it's just part of being an entrepreneur. But it's still a real part of being an entrepreneur.
It is, and I'm so confident that you guys are going to navigate it, and then help people like us, can continue to navigate it, because what you're doing is dope. You had an incredible announcement today that I imagine Claudine might want to mention, as she, tells us her answer.
Yes, I will absolutely share. What is my biggest joy is like the impact that I get to create. And like on a multitude of levels, like I love meeting with parents and hearing, I needed this community. I feel disconnected. I need to be around other parents and talk about the real and what's hard about this mess of parenting in a pandemic. I love meeting with teachers who say, everything y'all did today was actually useful. This wasn't another trash PD. I actually have things that I learned today that I can use tomorrow. If I'm wasting teachers' time, I'm not doing my job well. So for me, like those statements, those moments matter so much. And then for my team, like being able to create an organization that allows us to live out our passions, live in our purpose, and dream wildly. I haven't really ever been a part of anything like that, so I'm trying to build it as I go. And I'm trying to normalize excellence. I'm trying to normalize luxury for my team as just the standard of what we deserve. And so when Naraffy says, like, I've been in places I never thought I'd be in. Yes, sis, me too. Whether it's, we're meeting with members of the White House to host a panel on education policy, because we did that, which seems wild. Or we're in the super exclusive Delta Sky Lounge and access to that space that usually I never seen the inside of until now. Or it's access to board meetings at Fortune 500 companies when we're trying to pitch. Like, I want us to feel very, very confident about walking in any space and knowing that we bring the value and the impact, so we don't need to feel doubtful about what we're showing up with. So like those for me are my whys. Those are the most joyful parts of my work, making an impact on others. And then challenging is just stamina to keep it going. Like, I'm human. I cry. I almost cried when Naraffy was giving us flowers. Like, I cry because sometimes the days are hard. I cry because sometimes ignorant people are racist. I cry because Black kids don't get the same justice as white children. I cry when I see things about people like Amir Locke, right? So the work is very heavy. And for me as an empath, I really have to be mindful about like rest and recharging. And my team does a great job at that. They will tell me, no, you can't do this thing. No, you can't sit on another board. We know you want to change the world, but no, ma'am. You need to go home and spend time with JoJo. Like, we're canceling your afternoon stuff. And I'm grateful to them because they know that if I don't do those things, I'm not going to show up well in any of the spaces that I need to. And something really exciting that has happened recently is that we're just continuing to grow and expand. And in that vein, recently, we got a call from someone at the New York Department of Education, like 6 months ago, reaching out to want to partner with us. And that was just a really humbling and amazing experience. Like, how'd y'all get my number? Where'd y'all find me at? I forget sometimes I'm on the internet and I do this work. But in my little, like, I go back to the 12-year-old girl that was steeped in trauma. And I'm just like, me? You want to work with me? And I just get really excited. And ultimately, we're going to be partnering with the New York Department of Education to help them build out a social emotional learning unit for health teachers. And we will train the people in their district office to train their teachers on the content we make. So it's really quite amazing. And I'm a big believer in the good Lord because I wouldn't be here without him. And I want to tell people how sometimes things are so full circle. Maybe like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now, the CDC reached out to me to sit on this panel for like the national health standards. And I thought it was a little weird, but I was like, you don't say no when the CDC is like, you want to sit on this panel? You say, absolutely, I'd be honored to. And the reason why is because the standards were based on health and they wanted to integrate social emotional learning into them. So it made sense in the end once I got into the work. Those are the same standards that New York is using for this health unit. So it's quite full circle when they were like, these are the standards that we're using. Are you familiar? And I was like, actually, God positioned me 2 years ago and I didn't even know I helped write those standards. So I think sometimes, you know, particularly as an entrepreneur, it's easy to say no to things because you don't always see the tie in, but there is always such power in doing things to grow your mindset, to grow your network, to learn. And this is just a testament of how they come back sometimes to surprise you in really wild ways.
And if y'all didn't know that New York City is the #1 in terms of size school district in the entire country, you know, so to be able to address and help those teachers learn, that's something that's going to trickle down to the whole country. So you guys are standing on the precipice of truly, you know, being a part of creating the future of education. And the one other thing I need to mention, just, you know, for more flowers, Eva, as we talk about how we build and grow our organization, she continuously comes back to, and we have to remember how Restore More makes sure to focus on how they restore themselves throughout the process, how they make sure that they have the energy and that this, you know, work all day and every day, all night, and 365, and you know how toxic that can be for many people. So she holds you guys up as an example and reminds me that nah, we're not doing it that way. We're going to take breaks. We're going to do all of those things. So, you know, salute to you guys for that as well.
Listen, y'all know I ain't gonna be burnt out. I'm too cute for that. Anywho,
I'm like, we only learn from doing it wrong, to be clear. So I'm always like, Eva, save yourself. And I admire Eva because she started like this teaching entrepreneurship journey, having her self-care practices down to the point where she was able to real calmly tell people like, these are my boundaries and that's it. And it took me 10 years to figure that out.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And I mean, it just brings me so eloquently into like what I wanted to talk about next, because I feel like collaboration has just been such a key piece of the path forward. And I think like when we start to think about how just what Black on Black education was or what it could be when we met y'all and what it is and is about to be now as we start to develop our nonprofit organization and start to hone in our focus and commitment to expanding student voice. Like, what and how has collaboration played a role in the growth and development of Restore More? What are the ways that you've collaborated with partners that have really pushed your thinking in terms of how y'all continue to make impact, not only in your business, but like real on the ground with the people that you work with the students that are impacted by the work that you do? Talk about how collaboration has pushed y'all into the space that you're now in and the impact that you're creating.
Yeah,
I'll take that on.
Go.
Sorry, but I was gonna say I get started, and Claudine could definitely like finish me out if I was missing anything. But I would say if we learn no lesson, we learn like collaboration within this like network is so key, and finding individuals to collaborate with only widens your net. Like, as well, like we collaborated, like the two of us on projects together, and it was such a dope process because one, you get to talk through like those business things with someone else who's kind of doing the thing that you're doing. So it's like a learning process together. You can trade like secrets and best things that you've learned over time. Also, we had the opportunity to connect with an old colleague of mine, Crystal Allen. Pretty sure, yep, everybody know about Kay Allen. She dope. Everybody know.
One of the black on black education nonprofit board members, actually.
I mean, that's our girl. That's sis to us. Hey sis. But like legit, we just started talking with her and just talking through our journey as Black women entrepreneurs in the education consulting firm, coming from the background within our charter school, like leadership journey and teacher journey. Like we had so much synergy, and it was just so open that we've just learned so much from one another. And we set goals for one another. And we've like said, hey, we're going to raise our prices this year, sis. Let's try it. If you do it, I'm going to do it. And we did it. And it worked. But it felt good to be accountable in some ways. And that's what collaboration brings. And I will also be very honest. We reached out to some people early on who did not reach back. And that is a part of the journey as an entrepreneur you need to be aware of as well. You may reach out to what you may think is your community, but you may not get that same energy back. But that for us meant we need to continue to find who do we need to surround ourselves with. And then that also pushed us to set boundaries for when sometimes inevitably those individuals come back to try to engage. And I would say, like, for partners and boots on the ground, collaboration has been key because through some of our sessions, through some of our works, we've been able to have individuals who have come on board now as facilitators. Like a lot of our facilitators have come from sessions at schools that we delivered work. And we talked openly and honestly about what's going on in their classroom, how we can continue to support them. And like personally for us, our fourth hire, our second hire was one of our former students. And she is like full-time on our team now. She is our project manager, and she manages like a lot of our logistics. She helps us with email. She's saving our life. But I remember giving that baby homework. I gave that baby homework, and I also took points from her. I know I gave her detention at least once or twice, like, but to also see and continue to have that relationship with her as well. I just feel like in keeping that collaboration, because I was her teacher, but Claudine was her mentor. And it just kind of came full circle that we continue these collaboration moments with students, with partners, with individuals. And when we've done it right, it has served us truly well. And when it's not, it's lessons learned. But collaboration, I would say, has been at the forefront of how we've been able to expand. I would say that was how we hit that next level, was being open to collaborating.
And there's so much there. And I just, anybody who has not yet come to the understanding that collaboration is a far better value than competition, like please try it on. Like we are designed physiologically, biologically for interconnectedness. We're not designed to work in these silos and things. And oftentimes when somebody's walking around feeling crazy, like, why can't I get this done? And why can't I get it? It's because you're trying to do it by yourself, like it's essential. And I hope folks, hear about your story and take that as an inspiration. And another part that popped into my mind related to that is imagine now this young student who is doing your project management. It's maybe they're with Restore More Forever, or maybe they go out and create an organization that is bigger, bolder, better than Black on Black education or Restore More and all the other ones combined. But they do that because you guys created a path for them. And that collaboration, it provides a potential that just sitting down trying to do things yourself does not do.
I mean, yeah, like what the work that we're doing, the only point of it is for us to be the giants that the next generations are standing on. So we say that all the time. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. Now, how do we become the giants that other folks are standing on the shoulders of? So we already got into self-care. We already did that.
But I think we should actually what we didn't do at tight enough, I don't think yet, is to talk actually about the work. Like the period of time that we're in, it's kids are having a hard time. I visit schools regularly, and some of them are cool, but some of them there's kids fighting, and there's just stuff going on. I'm on my local school board. I can't say what's happening, but there's stuff happening. Talk about the work. Talk about what it is that you guys are doing, and why everybody needs to be taking this approach as opposed to hard line discipline, get out, kind of stuff.
So the core of our work ultimately revolves around training teachers, right? To be their healthiest selves. And to do that, we have to make sure we impart strategies with them that allow them to retain their mental health, that help them keep their sanity, that help them yell less, that help them restore themselves more. And so our core belief, right, is if teachers use restorative practices, which is largely based in relationship skills, right? If they teach SEL skills and they're actively working to grow their anti-racism capacities, that their classrooms will have less trauma, less students being removed, expelled, suspended, or referred, which ultimately decreases the school to prison pipeline, and more positive interactions with their students, which ultimately leads them to staying in the work longer, right? That's the purpose of why we do what we do. But in doing it around the country, right, we're working with a multitude of schools from literally the West Coast to the East Coast, California, Chicago, Texas, Rhode Island, Jacksonville, Georgia, Memphis, New Orleans, like Selma, in Alabama. I'm just thinking of all the places that we're working with. And in that, we get to see really uniquely how devastating this pandemic has been on education. Kim and I collectively have been in education for like almost 35 years now. And prior to COVID, there were a lot of systemic challenges. But if you could get a core group of people together that were invested and believed in the same things, you could do amazing things, particularly with Black and brown children, because those are the babies I'm trying to serve, right? I think the pandemic made everything that much more challenging for educators, for parents, for teachers. And like the emotional bandwidth that people have right now is this long. And so people are getting frustrated faster, they're snapping faster, and that's across the board. And I think people just need support. People need better systems. People need new strategies because the old stuff is not working. And I am a firm believer that when you punish, shame, and humiliate kids, they will comply out of fear. And I'm an old school teacher, so I've had both. I've had kids fear me and I've had kids love me. And I promise you, they will do anything when they love you. They will simply comply when they fear you. And one yields a better result for me and my mental well-being, but more importantly, for them and their mental well-being. Shaming students, humiliating students to regain control, because that's ultimately what it is an ego grab. We as adults have a hard time acknowledging when young people run all over us. It doesn't feel good. But dehumanizing people in the process is actually reinforcing all the negative things that many of our kids are grappling with in society. We wonder why kids are so oftentimes labeled as horribly behaved. Look at society. They horribly behaved. You seen these airlines? If I was a child growing up now, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's what we do. Knuck if you buck if I don't like what happens. That's what it looks like to our kids. Reality TV is the go-to. Social media is all we do. And what do we see in those spaces? Adults behaving poorly. It's not the children that have lost their way. It's us. I always put the onus on us because children don't know better, but we do. And many of us are modeling the wrong things simply because of what we've seen, what was done to us, what we think works. And so we're just trying to rewrite that narrative and say, particularly with Black and brown children, yelling at them, demeaning them, trying to humiliate them won't work. Number one, we do Jonan. These kids will throw you under the bus in 5 seconds and you can't keep up anyway. You can't. I promise you. I promise you, Miss Sampson, you can't keep up with they Jones. Don't try. Build a relationship. Lean into the love. Really get to know your kids in a meaningful way, and then utilize some of these strategies that we're willing to teach to ultimately help you reach them and then like get to content. But there's no learning without love first. And I think too many people make that assumption that I'm only here to teach you. I got my degree. Do what you're supposed to do. And you can assure yourself a miserable experience if that's the mindset you adopt with children of color. They don't care. That attitude is a great way to usher yourself out of the door and make your job harder.
Mm-hmm. That's all I got. Mm-hmm.
And I've been there. Like when I started, I walked into a school culture where like yelling was the norm, demeaning kids was expected, or just what I saw. So I was like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make them fear me. I am 5'4", okay? I am 5'4". 5'3". But I was living into this, I'm a hoorah, rah, roll. And I'm like, I don't even like to yell. I actually am very playful. I like to laugh. And the more I leaned into who I actually was, the more I actually liked my job.
I mean, absolutely. Man. I mean, y'all are talking it, and I'm just sitting here after a long day at work. And I'm sitting with how the ways in which we are prepared to be teachers is so off from what we need educators to know when they're walking in the building. Like, I have not been in this very long. I haven't. But I know when I see somebody new come in and I'm like, you ain't gonna make it. I'm so sorry. You ain't gonna make it. You ain't gonna make it. And I tell my dad this all the time. Like when I complain about my job, there's maybe 0.5 times out of 10 that it's about the kids. 0.5 times about the kids. 0.5. So your point about the adults needing to get real well in order for us to have any semblance of an education system or a school system that operates in a way that can support what students are coming into our buildings with. The things that I am told on a daily basis from my kids, I'm like, well, I'm going to therapy later. But let's talk, because what? And I'm not gonna lie, I yell at them sometimes. I definitely do. I get Black Mama real quick, just, and then I turn off and I'm like, so I did that. We here. I'm back. But y'all know, y'all played me and you knew better.
We absolutely do not preach perfection, because I will tell you now, I have dragged, humiliated, shamed, and demeaned many a kid in my past. And I actually share those stories to like humanize it, because the more we act like, oh no, we don't do this, you're a liar. We've all made mistakes. We've all been stressed. We've been there, but we have to be able to talk about those experiences, and also just normalizing apologizing to children. It's so human. I'm gonna mess up again. Guess what? I'm gonna mess up again. So let me normalize this and let it go both ways.
I do it every
That's
time.
what I love. Go
Every
ahead.
time. No, but every time I will yell at them, and almost immediately I'll be like, so y'all saw me come out my face, right? Same way you came out your face 50 seconds ago, and I came out my face, and now we both had our moment. Okay? So I'm a woo-saw in the corner, and you go woo-saw in the bathroom. Go make your little TikTok, and we good. Like, we're good. And they come back and like, love you, bye, hugs, like, and it'll be within a 5-minute span where we have apologized, been angry, moved on, and got like that same premise where people are like, oh, when you get married, you don't want to go to sleep angry. Like, I try with all my heart not to let my kids leave the classroom angry. I try with all my heart to have that same sentiment. And when you say I don't preach perfection, because I am not perfect. My principal walked in on me kicking somebody out of class. And I was like, and what? And what you gonna do? Because I told her to put her mask on 6 times and she didn't. And I don't want COVID. I'm going on a trip. Like, so it's just the reality is that the same way that the pandemic has negatively impacted our kids, the world has negatively impacted our kids. Trauma, poverty have negatively impacted our kids. All of those things have negatively impacted us as well. And it just brings me into like, we led a session together titled Critical Self-Care During the Pandemic, Hacks to Adulting. So we recognize that, again, a large part of our way to reach the students that we need to reach is going to be us getting well. And so across the board, if y'all could talk about the one thing that you do for yourself that helps renew and rejuvenate you to be able to continue doing this really difficult work, I would love for people to be able to hear that on their way out of this episode.
I'll start. Something that I do definitely is travel. Like, I love to travel. I'm one of those, I'll go by myself. I don't care. But that just brings me so much joy just to try to get out there. So I try to make sure that I actively plan at least like one trip a year abroad. And then on small scale of like travel, like just taking a walk in the woods. Like, the team knows we often at the end of our meetings, at the end of the day, like, what are you going to do for self-care? And it's like, I'm just going to take a walk in the woods with some music. And for me, it's just finding moments to get out into the world or space or nature to understand that it's not all here, because you're right. We do take in a lot of energy, a lot of stories. We both have extensive experience within the education sector. So we've lived through many stories, disasters, moments. So it can be super heavy. So for me, it's just finding moments to breathe, and nature really helps with that.
Nice. I'll go same with self-care. We do, which is another good part about what we do. We usually have like daily debrief meetings, and we try to, after each one, we're like, oh, what are you going to do tonight for yourself? What are you going to do to take care of yourself today? So Eva was mentioned like a lot of TikTok. I love TikTok. I'm always on TikTok. So laying down, putting TikTok on and just scrolling aimlessly for a couple minutes or maybe an hour really makes the stress go off after a long day. Also just watching like a movie or catching up on TV shows. I love playing video games. So anything like that, I love to take my mind away and relax.
And for me, it's a lot of the same. But for me, it's more like who I'm with during those times. So like leaning into family is huge. I have a ridiculously large family on both sides. My father's like one of 9. My mom is one of 22. So it's deep. Yeah, I said ridiculously big. People always think I'm playing. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Yeah, that's a whole nother story for another day, but it's very juicy and interesting. It involves the motherland. It involves polygamy. It's great. Anyway, I did. I had 2 polygamous grandmothers, but I didn't realize it until I was older. I was like, oh, you didn't have 2 grandmas? No? On the same side? That lived in the same house? Y'all didn't have that? I thought it was normal. It was normal in my culture. Interestingly enough, though, for me, self-care is about spending time with the people I love most. So whether that's like my husband or my son or girlfriends or my mama, or cousins, because most of my cousins, I look at them like siblings. I didn't grow up in the house with my siblings. So spending time with family is really, really key for me. And then I think one of the things we've done well, and we continue to revisit it, is like, we cannot be in these streets preaching self-care and wellness and restoration to folks if we're not rested. And so if we're the model, what does it mean to lean into deep practices that are wild and radical? So like for Christmas, we took a 30-day sabbatical. I don't know anyone that takes 30-day sabbaticals that looks like me. I'm just keeping it real. I don't. The first person I ever heard said that was a wealthy white man. And I said, I want to have the audacity to take a 30-day sabbatical. I want that audacity. And I've never been able to dream like that, but now I can. What's stopping me? So he shared that with us maybe like a year and a half ago, maybe like 2 years. And I said, this year, y'all, we're taking a sabbatical. I don't care. We're going to hold the line. We're going to stop working on December 15th, and we will not work again until after MLK Day. So it was a little over 30 days. And people asked, clients asked us to train, people asked us to do speaking presentations. We just said no. And that was hard, particularly if you have a scarcity mindset. It is very hard to say no. However, I had to, remind my team as a CEO, we met all of our financial goals. We smashed them. We actually beat them by 50%. We will rest, and we will rest hard. And there's no reason for us to overwork. For what? For what?
Come on.
So when we came back into the new year, I was so rested. I was so overjoyed. And I remember having this very petty feeling when others are going back to work thinking, like me and Kim kept talking about it, we still got 2 more weeks, girl. We still got 2 more weeks to be out
I
in these
love
streets.
that for you. I love that for you.
And just getting to create that as we go. Like Monday is President's Day. I didn't have it marked off on my calendar, but then I was like, wait a minute, this is a holiday. We taking this. And then I just moved everything on the calendar over. Like, it's the freedom to do things like that and adjust when we need rest. Like if we're working late, we're coming in late the next morning. This work, we coming in late tomorrow. Because our job isn't always a 9 to 5, and that's okay, but we're also gonna take the rest and not overdo it.
Big facts. Big facts. I love the way you guys work. I want to continue to, we're going to continue to watch you work, as we start to structure our organization more. And so, as we start to, wind down the conversation, creating the future of Black education together. That's like, that's the Black on Black education motto. And so I wanted to hear from each of you guys, like how you feel your role, how you feel restorative practices, like what's the stamp that you're going to put on how we do that, how we create the future of Black education together.
Such a big question. So I was like waiting out to see who was going to go in there. How do you create the future of Black education? By listening. By shutting up and listening. People talk too much nowadays. They don't listen enough to the people that they serve, and you cannot build anything that is meant to serve a community, a neighborhood, people, without listening to ultimately what they want and what they need. And I think for me, that's just basic to the restorative approach. And I love what you guys are doing in just underscoring student voice in the season, because everybody's coming up with strategies to fix the problems and not listening to them. So that's why I think listening is such a big part. Listening to parents and what their desires and needs are. Listening to educators, because we love to listen to elected officials who have never been in classrooms. And listening to kids, because ultimately they are the first client we interact with, right? At the end of the day, schools are providing a service and the client is the parent, but the beneficiary of the service is the student. So the student's opinion matters greatly because they're the one who benefits from our instruction or lack thereof. And the parent's perspective, it matters greatly. So listening to those two things while also being sure to say, like, these are the things that are best practices that work, and imparting that knowledge versus it trying to be, it's this or nothing else, or this is the only way to do it. I think we just need more collaboration, partnership, listening.
And I would say to pushing more people to lean into their authentic selves. I feel like as an organization, like we were in a space where I think we didn't feel like we could be our pure authentic selves, but when we are presenting, that's like Kim and Claudine. Like you're not getting Mrs. Miles, you're not getting Miss Milton, you getting Kimberly. And I'm going to give you quality word, but I am being my most authentic self. And when I do that, if it even feels awkward or if it feels whatever, I know that we as an organization have created a safe space that I can operate in and my skills and my talents can thrive. And so continuing to engage with organizations and schools to help them also to build culture where they can be their authentic selves and grow and thrive. Like there's always going to be conflict, but how do you work through it? You're always going to, like, your situation, even with the kids, is not going to change. Like I was in the classroom for 2 decades and would still have moments where it's like, kid, come on. Like, not today,
Like,
but it's the energy to like keep going. The fact that you're willing to have the conversation speaks to the heart and the root of you being a good person, a good teacher. But from where I'm sitting, I want to continue to like help more teachers like you to be able to see that within themselves and to lean into it and to let them know it's okay. Your feelings are valid and you can still be a great teacher. Like those two things can exist. The kids can be tough, the school can be tough, and you can still want to be a teacher. And you can be amazing. So I just feel like we want to make sure that we're pushing people to be their most authentic selves because we are running out of teachers who stay in it for the long run. Like we don't have teachers that stay in it for 20 years anymore. You'd be lucky if you get a teacher to stay around for 5. A 5 years like vet these days. The fact that I was in the classroom for over a decade is like, big stuff. So we got to try to preserve that in some way, shape, or form. Naraffy.
Oh no, I was just gonna say to piggyback off of what Claudine and Kimberly said was just like going into the listening aspect and then being your authentic self is being open to like that change because a lot of the practices, a lot of things that usually go on in the classrooms and the higher ups, it's been solidified. This is what we know, this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna keep on doing it. But it's like as of recent, people are realizing like this is not working. This isn't good. This isn't good for the kids. This isn't good for the teachers. This isn't good for the administrators. Everybody is breaking down and we don't know what to do about it. And that's why like when I say like being a part of this team, I've learned so much because, of course I've been to school and I realize, all the things that happen. And I think about how some of the practices and the trainings that Kim and Claudine do would have been so beneficial in the classrooms that I was in when I was in middle school or high school. And yeah, just being open to that change, being open to listen to what people are saying, being open to the different perspectives of what people are, and just being really open and receptive to what people say and how they feel, and actually validating those feelings and trying to do better by them.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And so I'm gonna kick it right back to you, Narafi, because you're the digital marketer. So tell people where they can find y'all and your work because the conversation cannot stop here. Y'all have way too much to offer for folks to listen to this episode and then not go find you after.
Yes, you can visit us on our website on werestoremore.com. You can go to our Instagram at We Restore More. All of our social channels are We Restore More, but you can, like, if you think that you need us in your school or in whatever space that needs that restorative practice, SEL, and anti-racism work, you can book a free consultation for a discovery call on werestoremore.com and to see what we're up to and what we do. Like, we share a lot on Instagram about our new partnerships, what we do, how we do it, tips, things to make you feel good, things to make you laugh, what's going on in the community. All of that is on our Instagram as well.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Take advantage of that. Restorative practices is absolutely a part of how we're going to create what students actually want. You know what I mean? How we're going to teach them to properly engage, how we're going to teach them how to connect with one another. If we don't do that, they're not going to know. So please take advantage of what Restore More is able to offer. So as we end this, we always allow for our guests to become the interviewers and ask us anything that they might want to know about Eva, myself, or Black on Black education.
What's next for Black on Black education? I read the newsletters frequently, but I'm seeing y'all gear up with this student voice piece. And so, my curiosity is ticking. Tell me more.
You want to go, Eva, or you want me to go?
I'll take this. I'll take this question. So what is coming? I think that we have really, really been trying to find what our space is in education, where we fit, what makes the most sense for the work that we do. And we really just kept coming back to this conversation about student voice. When I was a student, I didn't feel empowered enough to go to my school leader and be like, listen, y'all doing this wrong. But the little girl that I babysat for 8 years, she is strong enough to do that. And it's so beautiful to watch. And so knowing that I have had the capacity in my short lifetime to empower young people to stick up for themselves and to be vulnerable and to recognize the fact that they are the asset in the education system, I need for us to be able to make that impact much larger and much wider. All of these Pearson, McGraw-Hill, like SAT, ACT, Common Core, all y'all, I'm gonna need y'all to stop doing anything without coming to us and listening to what we get from the students. Because I don't know the last time, I don't know if ever there has been a widespread commitment to listening to the needs of students and making decisions about policy. I don't think that any student in Indiana cares if their teacher puts their lesson plans in a year early. So let's stop making blanket efforts to change the trajectory of our education system without recognizing that students are at the forefront of everything that should be happening in the education system. Because, I mean, if they are not who we're looking at for the answers, then what's the point of what we're doing?
Big facts. Big facts.
Drop mic.
Yeah. And outside of that, what in terms of how we're engaging with people right now, we're asking people to do, we have like this pretty innovative video survey where we're asking specific questions for students to understand what their strengths are, to understand what their struggles are, to understand what they're curious about, to understand what they want the world to look like. And we are going to take this information and we have a summer program coming up where in that summer program, we're gonna sit down with, and we're wrapping our mind around what we think is going to be somewhere in the area of 50 kids. And we are going to operate over the course of 3 weeks, a school that is the future of education. We're gonna and for our 3 weeks, this is what it would look like. And we're gonna
This
have
is so exciting. Sorry, couldn't even help it.
Well, I mean, we plan to, to give you guys a shout, you know what I mean? Just particularly, we're gonna need to have you guys like on retainer just in case anything crazy happens over the course of the 3 weeks, so we can get the circle going for the school. But that's what we're really incredibly excited about. I've been visiting more schools and I want to continue to do that. Yeah, we're uber excited about what the future looks like. So thank you guys so much for joining us again today. We and I say again because even though this is the podcast, you guys have been a part of the conference. You know me, y'all are family for sure. So we truly appreciate you. And that is another Black on Black Education podcast. And we out.